based on the list, is Dwayne Wade ranked too high over Isaiah Thomas?
Mm-hmm.
That's the first one. And the second question I have is, right? Okay, so here's why I asked this, because the Detroit Pistons were a dominant basketball team built without actual like big stars. They were built around a point guard and a small shooting guard. And then they played rough and tumble basketball, and they were the premier basketball team for about 5 years. They just Isaiah beat Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, the two greatest players of that era, and he held back Michael Jordan. We talked about this in one of our last dance segments. Like he helped create Michael Jordan, right? And for 5 years, the Detroit Pistons were one of the best teams in the NBA of all time that are overlooked. Dwayne Wade wins one championship, even though like the refs helped him out a little bit in 2006, if we're really being honest about it, against the Mavericks, right? Dude.
I understand the argument.
Keep going.
Right? Okay. Then he wins 2 more championships with arguably one of the top 10, ultimately going to be best players of all time, and Chris Bosh, who's not on this list, by the way. He wins 2 championships there, and he is ranked higher than Isaiah Thomas. I don't know.
I think it's that. Go ahead.
And then my second question is based on questions number 14 and 13. Kevin Durant and Steph Curry, when they end their careers, do they move into the top 10? That's my question.
Only Steph.
Oh, for sure. Not KD.
No, KD's out.
If KD wins in Brooklyn. If KD wins in Brooklyn in the next 5 years, he's in the top 10.
I was about to say it.
No, you win one time in the Brooklyn?
It all depends on what they do. He may dominate for the next 2-3 years.
All right, let Jason go. Jason,
then Jonesy, and then a whole bunch.
One thing I'll say about KD, I don't know how many years he had the scoring title. I mean, he's amazing on offense. Defense a little bit suspect. But the only issue I have on this list right now, the big issue I have is Giannis is before Iverson. What is that? Soon. I mean, right. He's just starting. Now, don't get me wrong, he's playing well. Right, yeah. But I mean, how is he that far in the list? I think they have him top 25. So, and also with Kobe. But the last thing I have to say is that I really would love to see all these guys play. And for instance, I haven't seen Kareem really play since I was like 9 years old. Mm-hmm. So I think like when you're really able to watch guys play in their prime and appreciate, like we can talk about Steph and we can talk about Durant and even LeBron because we see them all the time. But even Jordan, I mean, yeah, it's been really 10 years since it's been longer. That. So, I mean, we start to forget how great some of these guys are. Even Isaiah. I remember Isaiah, just like Chris was saying, he was beating up on everybody. So, I mean, yeah, I can't remember who said how lists are just lists. That's it.
Calvin.
Yo.
That was Calvin.
You want me to say no?
No, I'm just saying Mr. Congeniality. Calvin's like, lists are dumb.
Lists are dumb. Lists are dumb.
Shay.
Done with it.
Oh, Shay, you going next?
But no, yeah, I think like what Chase said, I think this is where like I guess I had 2 problems, okay? My first one was the fact that Russell Westbrook was on that list.
Yo, he would have ate Bob Cousy, by the way.
Another one. And Chase, you might appreciate this, but James Harden shouldn't be on that list either.
Another one.
Facts.
The worst.
And Damian Lillard should have been a lot higher.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Ooh. I'm going to leave it at that.
Where would you put him?
The last one, definitely above Westbrook. This guy was like 8 or like 10 different places behind Russell Westbrook. We're going to let a guy who jacks up 32 jump shots a game be on that list?
Fair.
Nah. And I think the biggest thing, like other than that, was the Steph Curry thing. And Chris, you touched on that. And I think he's top 10, but I get why he's not. I 100% get it. Just exactly that. Not yet. I think when he finishes career, 100% he's top 10. He changed the game. And I think for that simple reason, he just has to be on it. But, I mean, other than the other suspect things that you guys have mentioned,
I want your list. I want your list.
Yeah, top 5. Top 5.
I agree with it. No. Not like that, but like what you guys were saying was suspect about the list. 100%.
Oh, okay.
We'll allow you.
No
hot tub for you, fam.
Brooks, though, shouldn't be on that list.
Hey, watch your language.
Listen, there's a number of people. There's a number of people that shouldn't be on the list, but I'm still vexed that Clyde is 54.
All right,
and listen,
all right.
Listen, stop it. Y'all got to talk. He has Vince Carter and Tracy McGrady above him. Are you serious? Are you kidding me?
Vince has been killing it for 20 years. What are you talking about?
Do you look at it? Vince hasn't been killing it.
He's been playing for 20
Do you know
Vince
his average?
dunked on someone's head last year, fam.
Do you know his points per game is 16 points per game? That's ridiculous. That above.
Yo, he saved the nation until Kawhi showed up.
The top 10, though, I don't disagree with the top 10. I think that's a good top 10. Thank you. There you go.
Do you agree with Kobe at number 4 and Shaq at number 5?
I don't necessarily agree with the order, but I agree with those who should be in there. And I think what we're doing, though, is we're picking these, or whoever's picking them is picking without noticing or seeing how everybody else played. Because you think of somebody like Wilt Chamberlain, who averaged 50 points per game. I don't care what era that's in. That's still going to be hard. 50 points a game for a whole season, guys. Like, we didn't get to see him play. We didn't know how good he might have been or what he looked like. So I think
but if you
played top 10, it's kind of hard.
If you played your junior highs, bro. If you played your son and his friends, 50 points a game. Okay?
Well, who says that they were all junior highs?
The man wasn't playing Shaq.
Listen, you weren't old enough to watch. You weren't old enough to watch how he plays. You weren't You weren't alive.
They didn't even have TVs yet, fam.
But I think we gotta look and see how these guys play before we put them in the order that they're in. And LeBron can't be on the list, the top 10 right now, because he hasn't finished his career. Neither can a lot of these other guys. But yeah. Anyways, I'll stop there.
I also think Tim Duncan's too high.
Oh, Stefan's gonna die.
You have lost your mind. You have lost
Number 8. Number 8.
This is perfect. You have perfect because Watson's next.
Tell me why you think Tim Duncan's too high, though.
Everything that Bart said, the man was boring, fam.
That's not the point, though.
And it's true. Ginobili. He had Manu Ginobili.
Too high. Had Shaq.
Too high.
And Robert Ory.
Don't do that.
No.
Don't do that.
And Pau Gasol. What do you call? Get out of here with that nonsense.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Eric's getting to you, bro.
Tim Duncan with
I'm not comparing Kobe. I'm not comparing.
Done them with 2 different jerseys, bro.
Pardon?
Kobe done them with 2 different jerseys. Get out of here.
Who stopped the Lakers?
Cal, just stop.
When the Lakers? Are you kidding me? Tim Duncan, the greatest power forward of all time, is too high? What?
Too high.
Listen,
like the rent.
No, there is nobody that's been more dominant in the decade after Jordan left than Tim Duncan. It's a fact. If the Spurs weren't competing for the championship, they were competing for the Western Conference title.
Stefan, your voice is trembling, fam. You're so emotional right now.
Sorry. I'm getting heated. I'm getting hot.
This is how I feel.
Anyway, let me get off that because Cal's trying to get me to cuss tonight. In response
trying to get a hot take, bro.
In response to what Chase was saying, I think the reason that Isaiah doesn't get that respect is I think it's part of because the NBA doesn't really want to glorify the Pistons. Like I think like that is definitely not good. If you're trying to grow the game and you're showing highlights of Pistons basketball, you're showing guys jumping off top ropes with elbow drops and like stunners, right? That's literally what you might as well show WrestleMania 4, right? Like that's what you have to be showing. So I think that's why Isaiah doesn't get the respect that he deserves. But I think if we've watched the Jordan documentary, we see that Isaiah was actually probably like I'm actually still mad that Steve Nash is ahead of him. Like I don't get it. Like I'm sorry, Isaiah is probably top 5 point guard of all time.
Calm down, O'Shea. Steve Nash is a good player. Do you understand that?
But he's not better than Isaiah Thomas.
You're just mad that he had the good hair, fam.
I just
take off that hat, Cal.
Oh my gosh.
I got the full Clyde. Clyde got the Vince. Who else?
Yeah.
Who else we got? GP.
I think, yeah. So, I don't know, man. This list bothers me. Easy there, Kirk.
Gospel music is trash.
We need to, We need to stop making lists because nobody will ever agree. If you ask Nick Wright on Fox Sports who's the greatest player of all time, he's going to say LeBron. But Nick Wright's a LeBron apologist. So what can you say? I think this is just ESPN putting something together because they have nothing else to do right now. What else are you going to do? Let's come up with a crazy list. Yeah, exactly. So that's what it is.
I look at this list. I think I was watching Michael Wilbon. He did this. He did an interview on it. Same thing with PTI. Somebody you mentioned before, and he's like, it's all these. Or no, so it was Bomani Jones. He's like, is all these analytical nerds? That's what Bomani Jones pretty well said. Like, it's all these guys who only look at analytics and who don't look at the body of work, who don't look at these guys actually on the court. They spend time putting numbers into algorithms and going like, oh, that's why Steve Nash is better. And not really paying attention to the actual dominance that each of these people had on the court. Yeah. Then, like I look at Shaq, and Shaq was one of those players in the regular season. He didn't care about the regular season. That's why he would balloon to like 300 pounds and kind of like play whatever, because he knew whenever I want to, I can turn it on and destroy everyone. So the whole thing about Draymond
just got
saying,
complacent.
The Lakers. Yeah, he's got complacent because like, I don't want to try anymore. I'd rather go play Kazam, and then beat Kazam, and then I'll play in the finals. Because he knew. Remember, he's like, he said, I would take Draymond Green to back him into the corner and then destroy him. That'd be it, and there's nothing that they could do. I remember Shaquille O'Neal, when he played on the Orlando Magic, he would run the floor like a point guard. Yep. Before he had his growth spurt, he would play the 2 and the 1, and then he had his growth spurt, and then he started being able to. He would take the ball across the court. It's when he came to the Lakers, he's kind of like, oh, I got Kobe here. I got Kobe here. I got the big man back here. I'm okay. I'm fine. Shaq nasty. Right, and he changed his game, but because he knew at any point in time, I think that's a catch with like people like him, people like Jordan, people like Magic, people like Larry Bird. At any point in time, they can say, you know what? I'm going to kill you. Kobe was the same way. At any point in time, Kobe would be like, you know what? It's time for me to murder you. LeBron's like, thank you. At this point in time, you want to go on the banana boat with me, guys? It'll be fun. Oh, jeez.
That's what I'm saying. This is why Shaq is better than LeBron.
I'm not disrespecting. Adam, I see you want to jump in. So let me finish this. I have no disrespect for LeBron. I think when it's all said and done, maybe a little LeBron will likely he will be likely in the top 5. I think we can agree on that by the time he ends, unless he has a massive fall off next season, should the season come back. Like, he'll be top 5. And even if he does fall off, he'll still end up being in the top 5 of all time. That being said, like, I look at that killer instinct, that like, can you go at any point in time? Tim Duncan, he might have been boring, big fundamentals, but he could at any point in time say, I'm going to dominate. Clutch. That's why when they lost that NBA Finals to the Miami Heat, the next year they went on a tear and destroyed them in 5 games.
Spanked them.
Because Tim was like, I am going to destroy you right now. I'm taking back what's rightfully mine.
I blame Manu.
Listen.
Like so go for Adam.
Let Adam speak.
Yeah, you know what?
Also, Kobe was ranked too low. Kobe Bryant, greatest basketball player of all time. I love Kobe Bryant. He's the best.
That's my boy. My boy Blue.
Stop it.
Mamba.
Well, listen. I mean, Chris, you mentioned that you know, a bunch of like statistical nerds are looking at the facts and stuff, and like I beg the question of like, who's more right? Because we're all up here in our feelings about these players that have made an emotional impact, and they're just plugging at the numbers. They're like, yeah, sure, he had the killer instinct, but I mean, he had a 36% free throw rating, and you know what I mean. I'm just saying that there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that we're looking at that part of it is like, man, we grew up and they inspired us. You know what I mean? Like we're now all Kawhi fans because he inspired us, right? Like all these kinds of things. But most of us are Kawhi fans because he inspired most of us. But like, it's just a matter of who's more right. I mean, if the stats, it's like playing Moneyball. You know what I mean? Like, you never bet on the guy that on the horse that inspires you, that has the good promo video. You bet on the one that's winning the races, which these guys are winning. You know what I mean? So I'm not. Anyway, you go ahead.
So we're not betting on LeBron then.
I've already rescinded that, man. I've already said. I don't know. I've already said. He's 9 to the finals, bro. 9 in the finals.
Yeah, he went to 9 finals with Magic. Magic went to 9 and he won 5 out of the 4.
Listen, everybody else that you guys are betting on right now, they do not play / they are not alive. Rest in peace, Kobe.
Wow. Gosh.
Did you really just do that?
Soon.
Did you really just do that?
Soon.
Wow.
Adam, you close, fam.
Too soon. Oh, man.
My number one stunner.
COVID got to this guy.
You're gonna make Chris off the show and start to just hurdle.
Yo, what's in that drink, fam? What's in that drink, fam?
Yeah.
That's why Adam's in the dark
right.
room, fam.
Adam's suffering from social distancing right now.
Reeb, go for it, because Adam's in a dark place.
Adi, I hear what you're saying in terms of.
Yes, Addy's in a dark place, so go for it, Kareem.
Magic and Larry are still alive, bro.
Not
So Shaq, fam.
So, Adi, I hear what you're saying in terms of it is better that it's these guys that are like with removed from the game and it's just these nerds. But the thing that you got to take in mind is, let me ask you this question: if you're saying at a playground and none of us are betting guys because we're all men of God, whatever. But let's say we have to gamble. Are you going to take the guy that just statistically this guy over here says he's better than whoever and put them in the game? Or are you going to take the guy that you know based on what you've seen, this guy can deliver and help me get what I need to get in terms of getting that dub?
I am taking the little brown kid. That when he sits there, he's got the same shot for him, because I know when I come busting through that lane, that's a bucket.
Because remember, he played basketball.
That kid is a bucket. That's all I'm saying. When I bust
like
you through the lane, that's it. Right? It's going to that little brown kid that won the free throw competition last year. He's got the ribbon to prove it, and all I know, he's got that stroke. I don't care what he looks like. I don't care if he's inspiring. I don't care if he's 6'11". It does not matter. It's going to the man who. Yo, I'm telling you, man. I'll play money.
Yo, Adam.
I don't even know, man.
What do you want tonight, fam?
Adam, what kind of seeds you busting tonight, man?
The reason why I say that.
Cream. Go cream.
That's a nice stroke. That's what he said. Dead.
The reason why I say that is that I do think that you have to have some sort of more like a emotional understanding of what, because it's more than just numbers. We could look at Russell Westbrook and look at his numbers when he averaged a triple-double for the entire season, and you might look at it and say, based on the numbers, he's better than certain mans, but we know that it's more than just that. It's not just numbers that allows you to achieve in this game, like in the game of basketball. It's more than numbers. It's a whole bunch of different intangibles that help lead to success. This is why and Steph talked about it from the top. I do think Dennis Rodman should be a lot higher way higher in this. Dennis Rodman is like, that guy was so dominant for so many years in the league, and to do what he did for so many years, and the effect that he had, and yes, he had all that stuff off the court, but on the court, that guy was better than thing. And so these guys are not understanding because they don't see all those little things that make a person or give that person the greatness that we want to give them.
Right. And I think the way to answer this, like someone said, it's personal, but like you look at this list, who would you start a team with? Like, who's your number one pick?
Yeah.
And I think
Shaq.
that works. But if that's how you're building your team, then that works for you. And I wouldn't disagree with that. Right? Like, 21. I think that's what it is. I don't know, man. Cal needs to not disrespect Tim Duncan again. Otherwise, I'm flying to Fort Mac for him.
21.
Savage. YG 400.
Amazing. Let me tell you guys, this is definitely something. Hopefully the season will start up again this year. Can't wait to see. Maybe LeBron gets that next ring, or maybe someone else. But hey, for everyone out there, chime in. Let us know who do you think is the top 10 right now.